Years ago, we lit the spark. Today, we are blazing the trail for others to follow. VOP Media is free. 3 years of breaking boundaries. 3 years of being that bold voice that echoes the thoughts of the people. 3 years of telling stories that matter.
We have experienced complete breakdown in democratic governance.
We are not just a brand, we are a movement, giving voice to the voiceless.
We go to bed empty hunger.
To every viewer, every voice, and everyone that has made us who we are, we say thank you. VOP Media, 3 years and still counting. VOP TV. Now you have more than a voice.
Hello and welcome to News Hour on Voice of the People TV. I am Vivian Oguche. Before we begin the news, kindly visit our website www.vop.ng for fresh and trending news. Here are the headlines. LP faction names Nenadi Usman interim chair. An outcry greets Unimade renaming after Buhari. Tinubu names Babangida BOA chair, appoints other MDA heads. Tinubu praises Dantata's integrity. Also, FG disputes Nnamdi Kanu lawyers' empty threats claim. An appeal court orders ACP Idachaba's reinstatement. On the foreign scene, a Pope mourns Gaza church strike victims. And in business news, Tinubu approves a Southeast Investment Company. In sports news, dominant Super Falcons trounced Zambia 5-0 to reach semifinals. Well, in the world of entertainment, Burna Boy says he relates more to Jamaican culture. Well, now in the news in detail. A faction of the Labour Party has appointed Nenadi Usman as his interim national chairman. The decision was made during a meeting of the party's National Executive Committee held in Abuja. Former Senator Darlington Nwokocha, who represented Abia Central, was also appointed as interim national secretary. The appointments are part of the faction's efforts to restructure the party's leadership ahead of its national convention. The newly formed Interim National Working Committee will manage the party's affairs until a new NEC is elected at the convention. During the meeting, the NEC also approved a timetable for congresses at all levels of the party structure, including ward, local government, state and zonal congresses leading up to the national convention. And while the Julius Abure-led faction of the Labour Party has disowned Friday's National Executive Committee meeting, calling it illegal, unconstitutional, and of no consequence. In a statement, the factional National Secretary, Umar Farouk, insisted that only the party's national chairman and national secretary are constitutionally empowered to convene such meetings. Farouk also issued a warning to Abia State Governor Alex Otti, urging him to stop using state resources on what he described as political trivialities. Well, moving on, a growing wave of opposition is trailing the federal government's decision to rename the University of Maiduguri Unimade as Muhammadu Buhari University. Alumni, students, and concerned citizens are urging President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to halt the move, warning that it could erase a legacy over 4 decades in the making. In an open letter widely circulated on social and traditional media, stakeholders acknowledged the contributions of former President Muhammadu Buhari, but argued that renaming the institution would undermine its long-standing identity. Led by Opeyemi Olatinwo, the petitioners described Unimade as a symbol of resilience, academic excellence, and regional pride, especially during the Boko Haram insurgency when it remained open despite persistent threats. The petition, endorsed by thousands, including students and prominent alumni, argues that the proposed name change does not reflect the will of the university's key stakeholders or the broader Nigerian public. Meanwhile, the federal government has backed President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's decision to rename the University of Maiduguri in honor of the late former President Muhammadu Buhari. In a statement, the Minister of Education, Olatunji Alausa, described the move as a powerful tribute to Buhari's long-lasting contributions to Nigeria's development. The statement, signed by the Ministry's Director of Press and Public Relations, Barry Owofolashade, was shared via the Ministry's official X handle. And now, the not-so-favorable opinions of a good percentage of Nigerians about the late former President Muhammadu Buhari notwithstanding, some are already missing his personality and cherishing the memory of his administration. VOP TV correspondent in Oka, Anambra State, Undu Okpaleze, Hassan update.
Buhari superintended over the nation's affairs for close to 10 years, both as a military head of state and a civilian president. But his 8 years of leadership under the democratic dispensation did not appear to have impressed a lot of people. Dr. Ndubisi Democratic Congress, in the forthcoming Anambra State governorship election, while contributing in a recent VOP TV breakfast show, doubted if Buhari had a good grasp of the nation's economy. Just as he said, the former president could not fight corruption, despite his claims of integrity.
Under his watch, under many other people's watch, the petroleum industry has been a cesspool of corruption. And the earlier we get it right, the better for all of us in this country. If you appoint people and those people are incompetent and you fail to sack them, then you should be held responsible. The buck stops on his table. If you appoint people who are corrupt and you can't send them to the anti-corruption agencies, and you retain them in office for 8 years, you should be held responsible. There's no passing the buck here, please.
However, the immediate past commissioner for information in Anambra State, Sir Paul Nwosu, said there is a law the nation has lost in Buhari.
By his upbringing and training, he believes that a society is supposed to be ordered in that same puritanical pattern. He instituted war against indiscipline. That was when Nigerians learned to queue at bus stops. That was when Nigerians learned to obey traffic laws and traffic lights. That was when people were afraid to steal public funds, because if you do that, you know the consequence. He was one man that believed that people's mandate, people's vote will count. Buhari came and insisted that the Anambra's vote will count. That was why Willie Obiano was able to govern for 2 terms. Otherwise, they would have railroaded him out of office.
The Secretary of Nigeria Union of Journalists, Anambra State Council, Dr. Okechukwu Onuegbu, further portrays the leadership qualities of the late former president.
At least we know that Enugu-Onitsha Expressway that was constantly awarded without anything being done, his administration started it to an extent that they also reached an agreement or signed MOU with MTN to continue with the work, and the work is still ongoing now. So I think that one is a plus to him, to the people of Southeast. Even the second Niger bridge that was started, because we know that it was done halfway by former President Goodluck Jonathan, but his administration brought it to the fore, and it was concluded to this extent it is now. And I know that he also ensured that some state governments were able to do what they're supposed to do, especially during the election time. I remember that of Anambra State, a lot of things happened, political intrigues. At a time we thought that APC will hijack the government, but he stood his ground and let the will of the people happen, and it happened like that.
As opinions continue to differ on the assessment of the late Nigeria's former president, it is believed that only time will provide a better assessment. Ndo Okpaleze, Voice of the People Television.
Undu, thank you for that report. Well, in another development, President Bola Tinubu has appointed Muhammad Babangida son of former military leader Ibrahim Babangida, as chairman of the revitalized Bank of Agriculture. The announcement was made in Abuja by presidential spokesperson Bayo Onanuga, who also confirmed that 8 others have been appointed as chairman or directors general of key federal agencies. Mohammed Babangida holds a bachelor's degree in business administration and a master's in public relations from European University, Montreux, Switzerland. He also completed the executive program in corporate governance at Harvard Business School in 2002. Now, President Bola Tinubu has paid glowing tribute to the late business mogul Aminu Dantata, describing him as a man of immense personality, integrity, and honesty. Tinubu made the remarks in Kano during a condolence visit to the family of the deceased. He praised Dantata's enduring contributions to Nigeria's economic growth and his lifelong commitment to humanitarian causes, saying the philanthropist left an indelible mark on the nation. Dantata, a renowned businessman and philanthropist, passed away in Abu Dhabi and was buried in Medina, Saudi Arabia, at the age of 94. And now to legal matters. Justice James Omotosho of the Federal High Court in Abuja has been urged to compel the leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, to enter a defense in the terrorism case brought against him by the federal government. During proceedings, lead prosecuting counsel Adegboyega Awomolo called on the court to reject the no-case submission filed by the defense. Awomolo argued that Kanu must explain his alleged involvement in terrorist activities, which, according to the prosecution, led to the deaths of at least 170 security personnel and widespread destruction. He noted that the prosecution presented 5 witnesses and submitted several pieces of evidence, including audio and video recordings. Contrary to the defense's claim, Awomolo maintained that the prosecution's reply comprehensively addressed all issues raised and showed the no-case submission lacked merit. He urged the court to take a panoramic view of the evidence presented so far and determine whether a prima facie case has been established warranting Kanu to open his defense. Now, the Court of Appeal has ordered the immediate reinstatement of Assistant Commissioner of Police James C. Idachaba, who was compulsorily retired from the Nigeria Police Force in 2015. The court also reversed the directive requiring Idachaba to refund 8 years' worth of salaries. Justice Mohammed Danjuma delivered the late judgment in the appeal filed by Idachaba's counsel, Chika Osulu Ojuku, against the Police Service Commission and the Nigeria Police Force. The appeal court set aside the earlier ruling by the National Industrial Court delivered by May 15, 2024 by Justice O.O. Oyomi, which had dismissed Idachaba's legal challenge against his retirement. Well, joining us virtually now to make more sense of these stories is Chijoke Oji, all the way from Switzerland. He is a public affairs analyst. Mr. Oji, you're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Good evening, Nigerians.
So good to have you. So just for context, a faction of the Labour Party has appointed Nenadi Usman as its interim national chairman. The decision was made during a meeting of the party's National Executive Committee held in Abuja. Now, former Senator Darlington Nwokocha, who represented Abia Central, was also appointed as interim national secretary. Now, do you think these appointments are actually part of the faction's efforts to restructure the party's leadership ahead of its national convention?
Well, it's a big one in the sense that as we drum up to the 2027, more of these dramas will all emerge. This is still the very beginning. So Labour Party over its last term great performance with the concluded election in 2023. Definitely attracted a lot of attention. And of course, just like honey, everybody wants a taste of it. We all saw this coming in the sense that it was going to be difficult to put the house in order when there are so many people jostling for things. But however, Nenadi Usman coming on board should have been a welcome development if the house was in order. But this time it's coming on a division. You know, you're now having two sides, and we hope that they don't even broker into 3 or 4 more sides, because the fact that there are disagreements shows that there's a lot of things, abnormalities that is being tackled within the party. And usually this is what, weakens the party structures, creates a lot of distractions from the main goal of winning elections. Because if you plan to succeed, it begins with having the house in order. And a divided house cannot win an election, especially with the forthcoming elections, which we're seeing the massive the campaigns from all corners. But again, it's also a burden to tell Nigerians that it is good when we have these fights, because it's also what brings out the truth. It's also what lets Nigerians know, the capabilities of the individuals who are the helm of affairs. And you see we're not privy to in the public view. But however, I think it's too early for Labour Party to be, of distractions. And you're now having these factions coming up now very strongly, and also, threatening the governor of the Labour Party. So it's definitely going to be a bigger show for us all to watch. But in the interest of nationality, we will definitely advise that these parties would want to work in common goal, especially.
Mr. Oji, are you still with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Meetings. So it looks like there are splinters already. Where does this leave the Labour Party? And let's take a look at what their Bure team is saying. Are they making some sense, would you say?
Depends on what sides you come from, or anyone is sitting. Already, Labour Party has taken so much heat, and one would expect that the first thing they would do is to go back to the drawing boards. Identify the issues, hear the cries of the people, and know where and where to come in, especially the voices at the lowest cadre, because that is where great parties achieve more. They try to listen to the cries of the people you hear, the representatives on the streets, because they are the mass mobilizers, not the people who wear suits and agbada to the party conventions. No. It is the people who are the ones that sense the messages and go to the market women and men on the street to convince them, to be a part of this party. And it begins with some people conceding, because you give in order to be able to receive. If the party leadership intends to achieve more, factions would first of all acknowledge that there is an issue. How do we tackle them? Is to come on the table and be able to draw up some sort of understanding that represents the mindsets, the will of the people, especially in not trying to sideline the others. Because what will definitely, like is playing out now, is that so long as you have certain voices louder on the table, it would, the Abure faction definitely wants to be able to have a better say. And of course, the Julius teams too are not going to be willingly to give up, because already there's been a lot of banter that has gone so awry, especially in the destruction or in the of these party men and women. And one would have expected that that should have been the very first primary assignments.
All right, let me come in here, Mr. Oji, before we wrap up this particular matter. You talked about the Abure-led faction wanting to have a voice, and you said if they would want to come to the table, it will work for the party. But do you even think that's the goal of Abure, for starters? Because he was seen with the FCT minister, Nyesom Wike, who is a staunch supporter of President Tinubu and who has publicly come out to say that he was going to work for President Tinubu's re-election. So it is being said in some quarters that Abure is there to destroy the Labour Party. Do you think that's the case, though?
I don't think that a party as large as Labour Party can be destroyed by one individual.
Okay.
Even though it is said that a bad egg can have effect on the others. But then it is also on the choice of the people to say we want to be destroyed or not. Abure is representing probably himself and also certain individuals, and we can't say for sure that he's a representative of the president. Yes, that he's seen with the Nyesom Wike affiliations. I don't think there's any law in Nigeria that limits an individual who's a member of a party from relating with others. I do not think that at the moment he's carrying the APC flag into the Labour Party's meetings areas. And one thing I think that would have been better off is for the Labour Party to look at rebuilding its houses, because the house currently is in tatters and it's having a whole lot of leakages. If they are not able to address these issues, you will find out that while they keep tackling the Abure and the Julius issues, a lot of things would keep them distracted from the end goal, which is the election ahead.
Right.
And if not able to address these things, the earlier the better. It would definitely limit the performances of Labour Party in the coming election of the 2027. So I think the best thing would be, first of all, is forget who Julius represents at the moment. What is the interest of the party? What are the party's manifestos? These are the things they should be marketing at the moment and trying to put the house in order and making sure that the people are united and are ready to and prepared for the coming forth elections.
And that's
because they do better than what they did in 2023.
All right, that's a safe place for us to land on that particular matter. So let's, talk about something else, which is actually very much on the lips of most Nigerians today. Following the passing of President Muhammadu Buhari, the president, Bola Tinubu, had renamed UNIMAID, University of Maiduguri, after President Buhari. It is now Muhammadu Buhari University, Maiduguri. So this is the thing now. A growing wave of opposition is trailing the federal government's decision to rename the University of Maiduguri, UNIMAID for short, as Muhammadu Buhari University. Now, the alumni, students, and concerned citizens are saying that, of course, President Buhari did well. He was a statesman. But to rename the university after him will be to wipe out about 4 decades of legacy, and that they were not taking it. I don't know what you think about this, though.
First of all, I do not think that renaming an institution or a place after the president is out of place. But what we should consider is the process in doing so. You need to take into consideration what are the perceptions of the people, and then of course the community, because the school itself is a community. And it's a representative of the entire whole nation. The University of Maiduguri is not only attended by people from Borno at all. No, it's a conglomeration of the entire whole nation. And so for such decisions to come on board, one would expect that there should have been some certain level of consultations. We're in a democratic regime and the days of the military is over. So we don't expect that this idea of, taking things in a hurry or placing the cart before the horse is usually sometimes the carrot approach that the Nigerian system has been doing over and over. And the challenge is that when we continue to make the same mistake over and over, it becomes a crime against the people. And that's why some certain level, the synchrony would have been easily felt. It would have even been the people clamoring for it as a way of idolizing or keeping in memory of the Muhammad Buhari I think the approach is the major issue. It's not the renaming of the university, but the way and manner it's being done. The Minister of Federal Capital Territory renamed a whole lot of places, including the National Conference Center, after the current sitting president, which did not go down well with a lot of people, because the idea was these places was not even constructed by the president. It was just a rehabilitated structure. And if we're having all these things take place, we must continue to feel the pulse of the people. Is that the best way to idolizing our should be a sense of direction.
All right. So before we wrap up this particular matter, some okay. Some people are saying that the late President Muhammadu Buhari wasn't an academician, so to say. So there were concerns that if you had renamed military barracks after him, it would have been appropriate instead of an institution. But I heard you say clearly earlier on that renaming an institution, a university after the president, the late president, is not an issue, but the process is what the issue is. That's what you said.
That's right.
All right. Let's move on to this other one now that's got people talking as well. President Bola Tinubu has appointed Mohammed Babangida, son of former military leader Ibrahim Babangida, as chairman of the revitalized Bank of Agriculture. Now, the announcement was made in Abuja by presidential spokesperson Bayo Onanuga, who also confirmed that 8 others have been appointed as chairman or directors general of key federal agencies. Now, I want you to take a listen to the pedigree, right? Mohammed Babangida holds a bachelor's degree in business administration and a master's in public relations from European University and Switzerland. He also completed the executive program in corporate governance at Harvard Business School in 2000. Regardless of, his pedigree, some people have agreed. In fact, social media is ablaze right now, and they're saying this is just President Tinubu trying to ensure that the North would, back him up in 2027, regardless of Mohammed Babangida's pedigree and all of that. But let me not put words into your mouth. What do you make of this appointment?
Well, I think for the president it's strategic, but for the nation, is it? Only time will tell. Agriculture is a very sensitive issue now, because we should be talking about how to feed the people. A hungry nation is an angry nation. And anything we can do to ensure that there's food security should be as a priority on the burners of the table. So if the president is making such an appointment, on my own side, I think is a welcome development.
All right.
We must also sometimes look away from, politicizing everything. Yes, the man has intentions of 2027. And then, of course, he is also entitled by the Constitution to run. And we've seen it is the politics of the day. People try to make sure that they build favors against, when it comes to time, they get these things in return. But what Nigerians should be more focused is, can we hold these individuals accountable for the positions they hold? The current people occupying different positions, what are we doing to hold them accountable? That should be on the burner. It's not about the individual. I think for me, what everybody should be more concerned is their capabilities to deliver. Because the delivery is the most essential part that every Nigerian should be more concerned now. And the ones that are not delivering, what do we do to kick them out? Because we're talking about every turn of 4 years. And each time these things happen, Nigerians are the losers when these people fail to perform. Or when we keep, wasting so much energy and time in trying to say who's right or who's wrong. No, what we should look at is these individuals are usually given a brief and directions on what to do. So when they come on board, are they following this? Is it yielding results? Is what an average Nigerian should be more concerned? And then what is the parameters to which we want to measure these individuals? Do we want to look at after 6 months to evaluate their performances, or do we want to look at after 1 year? Because the truth is that every nerve and sector of Nigeria now should be completely active. Everything is all going into commodities, and food is one of the most essential commodity that Nigeria needs now. So anything that the president is doing in terms of appointing these individuals, we hope and pray they perform. It's not about the CV, but it's about the performances. Everywhere in nations that are doing well, they don't look at your CV. Your CV is not the most important aspect. What they're looking after is your performances. Have you got this pedigree to drive this? And then if you have, show it. It's your performances that will tell, not just your CV. So what Nigerians should be more concerned is, can these individuals deliver? If yes, let us encourage them. They are Nigerians, even if they're foreigners. Anything we can do at this point in time to ensure that there's security of food, which is one of the most fundamental thing every government should be concerned about, then we should do. That for me is the end goal.
Very well said, Mr. Oji. Now, Justice James Omotosho of the Federal High Court in Abuja has been urged to compel the leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, to enter a defense in the terrorism case brought against him by the federal government. Now, his counsel really has called on the court to reject, talking about the prosecution, has called on the court to reject the no-case submission filed by the defense, talking about Nnamdi Kanu's team. You remember how Nnamdi Kanu's team had said that they were going to file a no-case submission, for that particular case and all. But the prosecution is coming to say that no, the court should reject it. What does this mean, though, basically? I know you are not a lawyer, but what do you see happening here?
We have all been following this case for a long time. I think if the Nollywood would look the way of producing a blockbuster on this, it will definitely be a major entertainer. Although there's certain things I would want to say, but for the fact that this is an ongoing case in the court, there's a lot of restrictions to which things I can say. But I would say that this whole back and forth game has not brought the nation any good at all. And let's not forget that for a fact that this continued whole brawl game is not bringing any advantage to the federal government and to the states concerned. It would have, in the interest of the nation, to at least put an end to all of this back and forth.
All right.
Because the truth is that we haven't seen anything, meaningful to continue to hold this man down over these years.
Can I come in here, Mr. Oji?
Go ahead, please.
Let me come in. Right, so the prosecution argued that Kanu must explain his alleged involvement in terrorist activities, which according to them led to the deaths of at least 170 security personnel and widespread destruction. So that is what they are nailing on him right now. And they are saying, instead of a no-case submission, come and answer, basically. So you say, this is a case that has spanned 10 years, right? You're saying that there is nothing to show for it, but this is what the prosecution is saying.
No, but the initials, let's not forget that there were, I think the last sittings where the federal government was to provide its witness in a closed, shelved box, where the witness was meant to provide evidences as to what the roles that Kanu has played over these years. And we never had anything tangible to hold because, yes, this man has been held in captive for several years and not allowed to mix up with his family, and not allowed certain rights as a human being. And we have continued to hear how indeed he's been involved in terrorism, that the federal government has not been able to justifiably been able to provide evidences to nail him in the court. And you're asking the same individual now to come and explain himself as to his role, or to showcase that he is a terrorist or that he has been involved in the terrorism, which indeed he has been simply saying that clamoring for the freedom of his people is not a crime. And anywhere in the world that exists, there is a right to demand for freedom and liberty. And I do not think that he has in any way at all breached the Constitution that we all abide and are holding our dear nation to today. It's just a simple understanding and then perusal of the whole matter. And it to be clear, the Defense Council, in my own opinion, have not really even done most justices to Kano. Because the fact that this has dropped down to this shows the fact that his defense systems, defense personnel, could have engaged in more ways to have ensured that all of these things had been ended long before now. Because the continued dragging of this same man without anything to hold him shows that although we hear that is the system holding him and not the government, because every now and then is always one thing or the other coming up as stories. There are certain things I would love to say, but I can't because this is an ongoing case.
All right.
But we would say to the government, have we not spent so much time and energy, resources, keeping this man for no just cause? We have also had people from other sections of the country demanding for the same thing. And today, the same individuals are walking free. The same individuals are also clamoring and requesting for the federal government to release this same man. What then should we as a nation continue to do to make sure that the voices of the people are heard?
Yeah, that's...
If indeed we continue to silence them when there's a certain voices that says, no, this is not fair on my people. And I think this continued detention and harassments, or better put, this deprival of the human right, the fundamental human right on Nnamdi Kanu has to end.
Well,
I have, as a person.
Well, Mr. Orji, that's a safe place for us to land on this particular matter, and this is the much we can take. But I've got to say thank you so much for your insightful analysis. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, we is Chijoke Orji. He is a public affairs analyst, and he joined us all the way from Switzerland. But you're still watching News Hour on VOP TV. More stories after this break. Stay with us. Welcome back. And now the House of Representatives has continued its nationwide public hearing on the amendment of the 1999 Constitution aimed at gathering diverse opinions from Nigerians. Chairman of the Southwest Center B of the House Constitution Review Committee, James Faleke, spoke at the hearing in Akure, Ondo State. He said the exercise seeks to reflect the collective views of Nigerians in the ongoing constitutional review process. Faleke explained that all submissions would be deliberated upon in Parliament and considered in the final draft. Declaring the hearing open, Ondo State Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa stressed the importance of constitutional amendments that align with present-day realities and strengthen Nigeria's democratic framework. Well, when we return, we'll take a look at foreign news as well as business, sports, and entertainment news. Stay with us. Now, Hamas's armed wing spokesperson Abu Ubaidah said on Friday that if an interim truce in the Gaza war is not reached in the current negotiations, it could revert to insisting on a full package deal to end the conflict. Ubaidah added that Hamas has repeatedly offered to release all the hostages held in Gaza and conclude a permanent ceasefire agreement, but Israel has refused. Arab mediators, Qatar, and Egypt, backed by the United States, have hosted over 10 days of talks on a US-backed proposal for a 60-day truce in the war that has laid waste to the Palestinian enclave. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office said in a statement on his call with Pope Leo on Friday that Israel's efforts to secure a hostage ceasefire have so far not been reciprocated by Hamas. As part of the potential deal, 10 hostages held in Gaza would be returned along with the bodies of 18 others, spread out over 60 days. In exchange, Israel would release a number of detained Palestinians. And in Syria, Israel says it was allowing internal security forces to enter the Sweda governorate for 48 hours, citing the ongoing unrest in southern Syria. Deadly violence has plagued Sweda province since Sunday as Druze fighters clashed with Sunni Bedouin tribes, who were later joined by government forces. The Syrian Network for Human Rights Monitoring Group said it had documented 254 dead in 4 days of fighting, among them medical personnel, women and children. Israel's own Druze community demanded that Jerusalem act to protect their brethren across the border, as reports emerged from Sweda of regime forces killing women and boys, looting homes, and shaving Druze clerics' mustaches. Syrian troops had withdrawn from Sweda after a truce was announced on Wednesday, but clashes resumed late on Thursday between fighters from Bedouin tribes and the Druze, who are part of a religious minority in Syria that has followers in Lebanon and Israel. Well, business news is next. Now, President Bola Tinubu has granted executive approval for the establishment of the Southeast Investment Company, SEIC, aimed at attracting private capital, accelerating industrialization, and boosting competitiveness in the region. The initiative comes under the Southeast Development Commission, SEDC, which was inaugurated earlier this year. According to a statement from the presidency, the SEIC will operate as a professionally governed private sector-led institution functioning independently of the federal government's annual budget cycle. The SEIC will manage a range of targeted investments across infrastructure, entrepreneurship, education, and other strategic sectors. Managing Director and CEO of the SEDC, Mark Okoye, described the move as a bold step toward regional development. Well, still in business, the Nigerian stock market closed the week on a positive note on Friday as investors gained 824 trillion naira. This was the fourth positive market performance in the week after a weak uptrend in the previous week. Market capitalization surged by 1.00% to reach 83.241 trillion naira, up from 82.417 trillion naira recorded on Thursday. Similarly, the all-share index rose by 1,301.79 points, or 1.00%, settling at 131,585.66 from its previous close of 130,283.87. This uptrend was fueled by strong buying interest in medium and large capitalized stocks. Well, sports news is next.
And now to some sport news on the news hour with me, Jerry Marpelliahai. Nigerian Super Falcons have qualified for the semi-finals of the Women's African Cup of Nations WAFCON after a 5-0 demolition of Zambia in their quarterfinals on Friday. Goals from Osinachi Ohale, Esther Okoronkwo, and Chiwendu Ihezuo and Tosin Dimei and the 9-time champions the comfortable win. The Super Falcons have now scored 8 goals and are yet to concede a single goal. So far, this is the highest scoreline recorded in the ongoing tournament. It is a third win, one defeat in 4 meetings for the Nigerian team against Zambia at the WAFCON. The second Falcons got off to the perfect start as Ohale opened the scoring in the second minute as she headed home Okoronkwo's free kick. In the 33rd minute, Okoronkwo made it 2-0 with a left foot strike after using her chest to bring down Rashidat Ajibade's cross. Ezo added the third goal, capitalizing on the poor clearance by the Zambian defense. Atmosud, her marker, and slotted past the goalkeeper. The main got the fourth in the 68th minute, leaping high to head home Okoronkwo's cross. Then, in the 90th minute, Jamilusi completed the route as she simply tapped home Ajibade's low cross. The Super Falcons will now face South Africa or Senegal in the semi-finals. The home-based Super Eagles continue to build up towards the 2024 African Nations Championship chant by beating Ojodu City 2-0 on Friday. The friendly was played on the training pitch of the Remo Star Stadium in Ikene. Kwara United's Afeez Bankole and Anthony Ijeoma of RB Warriors got the goals for the Eagles. It was Eric Chell's side's second test game since the set-up camp in Ikene for CHAN 2024. The defeated reigning Nigerian Premier Football League NPFL champions Remo Stars 1-0 earlier in the week. The Eagles are expected to play more friendlies before the start of the competition. Nigeria will face holders Senegal, Sudan, and Congo in Group D. 3 countries, Tanzania, Kenya, and Uganda, will host the competition from August 2 to August 30. And finally, Atalanta winger Ademola Lookman is reportedly nursing a calf injury that could see him spend time on the sidelines for a few weeks. The Nigerian international, according to reports, picked up the injury during training on Wednesday. Lookman is now expected to undergo an examination to inspect the extent of the injury. It is believed that the injury is nothing serious, but is expected to keep him out of full training with Atalanta. Lookman is inching closer to transfer to Serie A giant Inter Milan. The former Leicester City player has reportedly reached agreement on personal terms with the Nerazzurri. Inter are, however, still in talks with Atalanta, who are demanding €50 million to sell the talented winger. And that's it on the sport news on the News Hour with me, Jerry Alpelehan.
Entertainment news is next. Well, I understand we don't have entertainment news at the moment, but we promise you to come with something better subsequently. And that's a wrap for us on News Hour. But before we go, a quick look at the headlines. We told you that LP faction names Nenadi Usman interim chair. Also, outcry greets a Unimade renaming after Buhari. Tinubu names Babangida BOA chair and appoints other MDA heads. And Tinubu praises Dandata's integrity. Also, FG disputes Nnamdi Kanu lawyers' empty threats claim. An appeal court orders ACP Idachaba's reinstatement. On the foreign scene, Pope mourns Gaza church strike victims. And in business news, Tinubu approves a Southeast investment company. In sports news, dominant Super Falcons trounced Zambia 5-0 to reach semi-finals. Do well to subscribe to our YouTube channel. On YouTube, we are Voice of the People TV, and on other social media platforms, we are at VOP TV Live. I am Vivian Oguche. Thank you for watching.